the only thing that the Conservative Party are conserving at the minute is New Labour, right? The only thing that the Conservative Party are actually championing is being a little bit more to the right of Sir Keir Starmer, which isn't saying much. And the Telegraph's Stephen Edgington, I think has done sterling work in exposing the fact that Tory parliamentary candidates are being given lessons by Conservative campaign headquarters. That's the beating heart, Jess, of the Conservative Party on white resentment, unconscious bias, gender identity, microaggressions. These are all the kinds of things that you would put in the camp of the Labour left, right? You would put in the camp of the hard left. I mean, the Conservative Party, CCHQ, who's running it? Is it Momentum? Is it Jeremy Corbyn, Jess? Your guess is as good as mine. And this is all at a time when ministers, over the past, 13 years of Conservative-led government now, they've said that they would ban similar diversity courses for civil servants. I know for a fact they haven't done that, Jess. I've got friends in the civil service who say to me, look, I get given a whole host of wackery and wokery to pour through as a training example or a training profile put forward. And if you consider the official stats from the Department of Education, right, that white working class boys are statistically more likely to be the left behinds in the education system, right? They're less likely to go to university than other groups in Britain. I just find the notion that a Conservative parliamentarian or a prospective Conservative parliamentarian, Jess, there probably aren't going to be many actual Conservatives elected in the next election, but any Conservative should be taught the notion of focusing in on skin colour as if it gives you some inherent privilege or a need for self-flagellation. That is a deeply, deeply racist notion. I can't think of anything more racist than saying that everyone white has some form of resentment that needs to be taught to aspiring Conservative politicians. I want Conservative politicians to be aspiring to making life better for working men and women in this country. I want Conservative politicians to be seeking to conserve the nuclear family, seeking to conserve our precious institutions, law and order in Britain, our borders, conserving, protecting nationhood and sovereignty and all of these vitally important things. Brexit, conserving Brexit, ensuring that the promise of Brexit is actually delivered. All of these things. Northern Ireland's place in our union, right? Protecting that, conserving that as a so-called Conservative and Unionist party. Those things are the laudable things that I actually want Conservative politicians to be focusing on, not gender ID and all of this racist nonsense. It is absurd, and it is again, I'm saying this, I've said it to you already today, it is indulgent in the extreme, and these people ought to be ashamed of themselves. The electorate won't look kindly at it, I tell you that much for free.
How do you think we've gotten into this situation when even the Conservative Party has to have unconscious bias training? I remember when this was a joke in 2016 on Tumblr pages of these actual woke corporations. Now it seems to be in every aspect of every British industry. How have we gotten into this situation?
The Equality Act. The Equality Act of 2010, Jess. I think that's the sleeper cell. That's responsible for much of this pervasive ideology that's running rampant through the British state. The Equality Act, protected characteristics and all the rest of it. You've got to ensure that you've got so many of X, so many of Y, so many of Z. And if you're not X, Y, or Z, you've got to be taught about why you need to treat X, Y, and Z differently, which, in my opinion, Jess, runs contrary to equality. So the Equality Act isn't very equal, if you ask me. I think we're all as ugly as each other, Jess, and we ought to be treated as such. We are all human at the end of the day, going back to what Martin Luther King said, and content of your character, not the colour of your skin. It shouldn't be about your colour of your skin. It shouldn't be about your gender identity. It shouldn't be about your sex, your sexuality, whatever it might be. I think the Equality Act is what is responsible for all of this. But I tell you this for free, there is going to be no Conservative politician that stands up and says this, because of the fact that this was put forward by Harriet Harman, a senior Labour Party politician, before Cameron came into office in 2010, right? This was the last vestiges of Gordon Brown's administration. And it was a plan to trap the Conservatives into pursuing this equality agenda. That's where it's all started. That's what's gone wrong in the whole of Britain. And that's responsible for this pervasive ideology, as I say, running rampant through the British state.